Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kitchen Chat TV on the Road. I'm Margaret McSweeney, your host. So delighted you're joining me here today at the National Restaurant Association. Yeah, and what a treat.
Cheers for the restaurant.
To be here with a legendary Meathead. And
My pleasure. My pleasure.
This is going to be fun to talk about your new book called Meathead, and we're going to understand the science behind the culinary arts, because you really provide such a great framework, like a textbook almost, in terms of the science behind it. And I'm just so excited to dig in. But first of all, I love your dedication on the front page to your wife, Lou, of 41 years. Can you tell us a little bit about Lou?
Oh, well, she's the better cook, always has been. She just hasn't done a cookbook yet, but she's an Italian-American, and she can look. She's one of these people who can look in the fridge and make a meal with whatever's there. I have to have a recipe. But she's got another side that's interesting. She is a high-ranking food safety scientist at FDA. So she's informed me extensively about what is safe and what is not safe. And on the website, AmazingRibs.com, that I run, there's a lot of good food safety information in there. And if you come to my house, you won't get sick.
And that's good to know, because I think that is part of what I'm facing, is the fear of cooking. And I think why my husband always says, your chicken is so dry. Well, I don't want to food poison anyone. So
Yeah, there's a really simple solution, and that's called a thermometer. Now, really, this is the digital age. It's 2016. You can buy the best meat thermometer in the world, which is called the Thermopen, for $99. And actually, it goes on sale for $80 sometimes. And I don't work for them. They make an inexpensive model for $30. 5 seconds, it gives you a precision read. Those old dial thermometers, that's a technology that was invented in the 1800s. They're not accurate, and they're tediously slow. Get a good digital meat thermometer that gives you an accurate reading in 5 seconds, and you'll never overcook a chicken, and you never undercook a chicken. And chicken, and poultry in particular, is a problem. There's a higher rate of contamination. Consumer Reports did research last year. 300 chicken breasts, 90% plus were pathogenic bacteria contamination. Half of that was antibiotic resistant. You just don't want to undercook chicken. 160 to 165 anymore, and you've got cardboard. So you need a good thermometer to get chicken right. Steaks, beef is expensive. 130 to 135, that's medium rare. Why waste a really good steak? And sitting there cutting it open is not going to tell you precisely. The color changes when oxygen hits it. A thermometer will tell you precisely when your steak is ready. Turkey is always borderline cardboard. Digital thermometer is the single most important tool you can have, indoors or outdoors. Why waste money? Why overcook food? Why risk the health of your loved ones?
yes, and that is great advice, all in your wonderful cookbook, Meathead. And it's such, the experts all around were high acclaims for your book, with Alton Brown and everyone.
It's gotten a lot of nice praise. I'm very honored that a lot of great chefs, both barbecue chefs and French-trained chefs, have praised the book. The book has two halves, essentially. You cited like a textbook. The first half is a lot. Let me back up for a second. I think there's a movement in the culinary world now that comes out of Alton Brown and Cooks Illustrated, and goes through Harold McGee, the great-grandfather of all this, who's On Food and Cooking is a food science textbook. Nathan Myhrvold and his modernist cuisine. Kenji Lopez-Alt, the Food Lab, IACP's Cookbook of the Year. He wrote the foreword to my book. And myself, we're all kind of nerds. And we're all kind of into why. And I think if you're going to fight your grill, which a lot of people do, it really helps to know what's going on when heat hits meat, how to set up the grill, how to outsmart the grill. And so I spend a lot of time explaining what is heat, radiant heat, indirect convection heat, conduction, how heat is different from temperature, Smoke. What's in smoke? What are the components? How does smoke work? What is the smoke ring? Meat science. What is meat made out of? What is in meat? How do they react? How does fat and collagen and protein react to different temperatures? So there's that kind of stuff in there that helps you outsmart the grill.
Yes, and I love how you worked with an actual scientist. Can you share about that?
I'm not a scientist myself. I have a great love of scientists, and I married a scientist. But I worked with a Dr. Greg Blonder. He's out of Boston University. Used to be the head of research at Bell Labs. He's a food scientist, a physicist, and whenever I ran into a question I couldn't figure out, I'd go to him. Like in barbecue, there's a problem you have when you're doing things like brisket and pulled pork. The meat goes up to a temperature of around 150, 160, and then it stops heating, and it stalls, and it's called the stall, and it freaks people out because they want to know when dinner is served and the meat's not getting hot. And you need to cook these meats, the very thick, heavy, tough meats, way past well done, up to about 200 degrees, which melts the connective tissues, makes it succulent. But if it's not rising, and it doesn't rise for hours, it just freaks people out. What causes the stall? Dr. Blonder did some experiments and determined it's just cooling by evaporation, just like sweat. It's water rising to the surface of the meat, evaporating, cooling the meat at the same rate that it's heating. And how to beat the stall and overcome the problems. So it's really great to work with a scientist. I also work with Dr. Antonio Mata. He's a meat scientist. Whenever I couldn't run into a problem, I went and found an authority.
Well, you are the authority as well on barbecuing and AmazingRibs.com, and I'm going to make sure we put a link to that.
Thank you.
Back to kind of the technical side as well. I love how Alton Brown was saying food writers are just really hesitant. They don't have a good grasp on writing about heat and how to explain that.
Yeah, I mean, it's physics, and a lot of people think, oh, thank God I left physics behind in college. But I mean, heat is energy, and there are a lot of things that you can learn about the way heat works and energy. For example, on a grill, you have essentially 3 different types of heat. You have radiant heat, where you're directly above the flame, and it's like the sun beaming down on the back of your neck. It radiates heat. You can have convection heat, where if you move the meat off to the side, so it's not over the flame, warm air circulates around it, and that's convection airflow. And you can put smoke in the air, and you can smoke things that way. But convection heat is much more gentle and more even, and it works from warm air rather than radiation. And then there's conduction, which is what you have on the grill grates, where the meat lies on the metal surface, and the metal heats up rapidly and holds a lot more energy than air holds, and so you get grill marks. But also, and this is cool, people don't realize this, the exterior of the meat gets hot, and it's what cooks the interior of the meat, not the air. Air cooks the outside of the meat, but the air can't get in. It's the exterior of the meat that cooks the interior of the meat, and that's conduction. That's conduction heat radiating from the outside down to the center. So you've got different kinds of heat going on there, and understanding what's going on helps you solve problems.
That is terrific. And then you also talk about smoke being the other important element. What exactly is blue smoke?
Oh, blue smoke, the holy grail of smoke. Blue smoke, all right, well, smoke, first of all, basically in simplified terms, is composed of small, tiny little particles, and then it has some moisture in it, water droplets, and then it has gases, combustion gases. And there can be hundreds of chemicals in smoke because they're caused by the breakdown of the wood. And you use charcoal for heat, not for smoke, and you use wood for smoke. And smoke is this wonderful exotic perfume, this spice that you can't get on your spice rack. And if the wood smolders, it can put out black, yellow, or brown, or white smoke. Now, white smoke tastes good, but black, yellow, and brown smoke don't taste good. They're bitter. They have unpleasant compounds in them, and that's when there's not enough oxygen in the burning process. The ultimate smoke is blue smoke, and it's almost invisible. And people say they start their grill and they want to see clouds of billowing smoke. Well, that can have good flavor, but the best flavor is from the invisible blue smoke, and you get blue smoke by hot fire, small burning hot fire. And people who use wood chips and wood chunks, they want it. They always complain. Well, I put the wood chips in there and they just burned right up. And I say, that's good. That's good. No, I didn't get a lot of smoke. Well, you didn't see the smoke because the particles are very small and they don't refract light like the white smoke does. Blue smoke is practically invisible, and it's the best tasting smoke, and it comes from a small hot fire burning rapidly.
So it's hard to get those Instagram pictures of blue smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So what would you recommend to the listeners and viewers about getting that best rub? You always hear about the rub before the barbecue.
Well, rubs are spices, and it's a great way to bring flavor to meat. And you put them usually on the outside of the meat before you cook, and you can combine any herbs and spices that tickle your fancy. For chicken and poultry, I like to go with herbs mostly. For pork, I go with a lot of spices, even brown sugar. But one piece of advice is, if you buy a rub, you're paying a lot of money for a blend that they make for you, and about half of it is salt. And you're paying an awful lot of money for salt. If you make your own rub, you don't need salt in it. In fact, salt is the only spice on your rack that will actually penetrate deep into the meat. It's a molecule that's two tiny atoms, sodium and chloride. And when they get wet, you put them on the surface of the meat, they get wet. They split, they get electrically charged, they migrate deep into the meat. Sugar is a huge molecule, garlic is a huge molecule, pepper is a huge molecule. Wine, they cannot penetrate. They sit on the surface. And we've got pictures in the book here where we show you, we dye a marinade green, and you can see after 12 hours, it barely gets past the surface, a 16th of an 18th of an inch. If you take a coarse sample of the meat, you cannot taste the marinade, you cannot taste the rub. It's a surface treatment just like a sauce, but you put it on before you cook usually.
Okay, so it's almost like a garnish in a way.
Yeah. Now the salt, because it does penetrate, you want to get that on in advance.
Okay.
So depending on the thickness, it takes time for it to move to the center. A very thick piece of meat, you might put it on the night before. A thin steak or something, a couple hours, but salt will penetrate.
This is great to know. Now, any tips for cleaning the grill and making the fish not stick?
Oh, yeah. It's funny how guys are. They think that gooey stuff on the grill is good because it makes a lot of smoke,
Right.
but it's grease smoke. You wouldn't want to eat in a restaurant that doesn't clean their grill.
Right.
Clean your grill. Cleanliness is next to godliness, especially to keep things from sticking. You want a smooth surface. It's not perfectly smooth. All metal has pits, even if you can't see them. But you want to get a good clean surface to prevent grease smoke and also to help prevent sticking. And the best way to prevent sticking, a lot of people say to put oil on the grates. But if you do that, the minute the oil hits the hot grate, it cracks. And it fractures and it changes its chemical construction and it starts to smoke. What you want to do is you want to oil the meat because the meat's cold. It's 38 degrees. It comes out of the refrigerator. So when the meat's cold, the oil is cold, it hits the grill, it doesn't heat up quite so quickly and it'll release faster from the surface. The hardest thing is fish. And fish is really almost impossible to get off the surface. But there's a couple of techniques. You can oil it, or this is going to sound crazy, mayonnaise. It's a trick I learned from a local chef at a place called the Real Club here in the Chicago suburbs. And a mayonnaise has an interesting chemical structure. It's mostly oil, but it helps fish release from the surface. It also helps to use the right tools. And by coincidence, I happen to be here at the Grill Grate booth, and if we can look down here for a second, these are the products from Grill Grates. This is a great tool.
Wow.
They have these replacement grates for your grill, and look at now. Here's a good way to get fish off the surface. I love this product. So, yeah, and I don't work for them. They're just good friends. I just love their product.
Yeah. That is terrific. And let's talk about some recipes, because you have some really fun combinations in there. What is the fun chicken recipe that you like to prepare?
There's a great classic that everybody in upstate New York knows. It's called Cornell chicken. And it was invented by a food scientist at Cornell. And it's a clever marinade. It's almost like a mayonnaise that you marinate in. And you can find it at every firehouse. You can find it at every baseball game or backyard church picnic. And it's a really good recipe, and it's a lot of fun. There's huli huli chicken in there, which is a popular. If you go to Hawaii, you'll often see smoke coming up alongside the road, and there's usually some guys sitting there making huli huli chicken. It's sort of like an Asian marinade, and it's really a fun thing. One of my favorite recipes in the book is not meat. It's eggplant parmesan on the grill. You take the tomatoes, cut them in half, carrots, onions, celery, and garlic, and you put them all on the grill, and you grill them, you char them slightly until they're soft, then you grind them up in the food processor, and you've got this grilled marinara sauce. It's stunning, and you can use it on anything. And then I grill up some eggplant slices, some discs of eggplant, put the marinara sauce on there. You can put some mushrooms on there if you want, some Parmesan cheese, or you can melt in some mozzarella cheese. No oil, eggplant parmesan on the grill, extremely tasty, really good. My wife, Italian-American, cooks eggplant parm the old-fashioned way, breaded and fried, and she likes mine better. It's the only thing I cook she likes better than what she cooks. But it's just stunning. There's another fun recipe in there. I do every kid's favorite, sweet sour pork. Pork tenderloin, pineapple, bell peppers, grill them all off, chop them all up, put a sweet sour sauce on it, and I've got the recipe for the sauce. And it's just as good as anything in the Chinese restaurant. And again, it's not deep fried, and it's got all the grill flavor.
Oh, so really it's a very healthy approach to using vegetables in a different way for those who are using vegetables.
I don't know what's healthy. You don't know what's healthy. Nobody knows what's healthy. I'm old enough to remember when butter was bad, margarine was good. It's a moving target. You will not find, I don't think the word health appears anywhere in here. I don't have it, I refuse to talk about what's healthy or not.
Sure.
Honest to God, I mean, we don't know. And so many people are so worried about what you eat. I tell people you will die of anxiety over food faster than you will die of what you eat. I did the math. If you live to 80, you'll eat 87,000 meals in your life.
Wow.
You can have some bacon. You can eat Cheetos. You just don't want to eat Cheetos and bacon for breakfast every day. But you can have fun. I mean, food is not going to kill you. Other things will kill you. You're worried about life. Don't get behind the wheel of your car. 30,000 people a year die behind the wheel of the car. Why are we so worried about our food? Fix the automobiles.
Great commentary there. So, what is the most challenging thing you've ever grilled?
Well, every barbecue cook faces the Great Wall of brisket. Beef brisket is a massive slab of beef, 14 pounds, thick fat cap, really tough piece of meat. That's always difficult and tricky. There are ways to defeat it, and we talk about it at length in here. I give a lot of tips and techniques on brisket. It's rewarding when you get it right. It's helpful to have somebody help guide you through, and I can do that.
Yes, you are our GPS at the grill.
I like that. Thank you. I like it.
So everyone, check out Meathead's new book. Also, there's a special promotion to join AmazingRibs.com. Can you share that?
Yeah, we have a membership club on AmazingRibs.com. Over 1,000 pages of the website are free. But we've got a section that is just for paid members, but there's a 90-day free trial membership with the book, so you can check it out. There's some cool stuff for the members.
Well, thank you so much, Meathead, for being on Kitchen Chat.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Well, and these are great questions. You really did your homework. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you, dear listeners and viewers. And it's time to get grilling. Pick up Meathead's new cookbook. I'll make sure I put a link. Send your pictures and let me know what's on your grill. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day.